Story time with Papa Mage. Have you ever wondered why a playset is 4 cards? This story of the old days of Magic could be why a playset is 4 cards. Welcome, Young Mage. I'm the Rhino. Young Mage is devoted to reaching and teaching young mages of all ages. Subscribe now to show your support, and don't forget to tap that bell down below to get notifications of all the cool stuff coming soon. Papa Mage has some great stories, and some of them are even about magic. Here's one I think you'll enjoy a lot.
The early days of Magic. I don't remember which year this was exactly. I think it was early 1994. There wasn't a Pro Tour or sanctioned tournaments. Magic was still very new, and this was before 4th edition came out. There had been a few tournaments at conventions, and a few stores in my area banded together to create a weekend tournament. And this tournament would be similar to what we would call a GP today, but we didn't have nearly as many people. I recall that this was somewhere around 80 players, I think. I don't remember what the prize amounts were, but I think it was something like about $100 for first place. There was also booster boxes of Arabian Nights as part of the prizes. I don't remember anyone playing Arabian Nights at the tournament, so it might have been right after that set came out. The rules were very different back then. The minimum deck size was 40 cards, but you had to make sure you kept at least 40 cards in your deck throughout the tournament. There was no sideboards, and you still had to ante as part of the tournament rules. I think this was because there were cards that could be played to affect the ante. It made sense to have an ante in that case, so I think I made a 43 card deck. We didn't use Swiss scoring back then. It was a simple double elimination tournament. Best 2 out of 3 and no time limit. So 43 cards was about optimal. This was before a lot of people had internet access. The first widely used web browser came out in 1993. That was really only used by colleges and government research facilities. So there was no such thing as net decking or discussions of a common metagame. You played against the minds of the people that went to your local stores, and that was about it. So this tournament was a really new experience, pulling in people from the surrounding area and other states. Another thing about the rules back then, there was really only a single main phase. You could play a land, cast spells, and do combat in any order. A lot of people took that to mean you could do each one only once, and it really depended on who was the judge as to the interpretation. We also had a one-touch rule in place for the tournament. This was kind of like chess. When you went to tap your mana or send a creature to attack or block, if you touched the card, the decision had to be made then what you were going to do. If you released the card without committing it, it couldn't be used for another action that turn. This was a very strict rule, but at the time it made a lot of sense. It helped make sure that you didn't have people twiddling cards back and forth, which had a tendency to get people confused. And twiddling was used a lot by cheaters. The deck I used was Plague Rats. Just Plague Rats. I don't remember the exact number in the deck, but I think it was like around 23 or 24. The rest were swamps. Very simple and effective deck. There was removal in the game and direct damage, but this deck would do lethal damage generally by turn 6 or 7. Most of my games were really short. There wasn't a lot of decision making required on my part. The deck was very unusual and unexpected. I'm sure you would want to know what place I got. I think it was second or third. I'm pretty sure it was second. I think I only lost once. I won a bit of cash and either a booster box or a half of a booster box of Arabian Nights. Most decks weren't monocolored. I had the only mono creature deck too. My biggest problem was cops. That's what we called Circle of Protection. Most people didn't run these because you really needed to know your opponent was going to run or play before you started the game. The deck I lost to had a lot of cops, walls, and Sarah Angels. Obviously an early control deck. I don't know if my deck had any impact on how we play Magic today. I'm sure there are a lot of refinement to the rules that came about from early games and tournaments. There were a lot of house rules at various shops, and I'm sure as the internet gained users, those ideas got around. So what do you think of my solution? This was the only mono creature deck I've built. Keep in mind there was less than 400 different cards to choose from back then. Now with standard rotation, you generally have over 1,000 cards to choose from, which gives you a lot more options.
Make sure you click like on each of my videos. It helps out a lot. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And there are a few things here and here that may interest you. I have more videos coming out soon. And until then, Rhino out.